One sunny morning, in a small village nestled at the edge of a vast forest, a curious girl named Lila discovered something extraordinary. While exploring her grandmother's attic, she found an old wooden chest covered in dust. Inside was a map that seemed to shimmer faintly in the dim light. The map was labeled the Whispering Woods, a place Lila had never heard of before. The edges of the map were frayed, and the ink was faded, but Lila could make out strange symbols: a star, a crescent moon, and a winding path that led to a tree with golden leaves. Her heart raced with excitement. This was no ordinary map, it was a treasure map. Lila decided to follow it. She packed a small bag with a water bottle, a sandwich, and a flashlight, just in case. As she stepped into the forest, the trees seemed to whisper secrets to one another, their leaves rustling in the breeze. The adventure had begun. Lila followed the map's winding path deeper into the forest. Soon, she came to a river so wide she couldn't see the other side. The map showed a bridge, but when Lila looked around, all she saw was a fallen log covered in moss. Just as she was about to give up, she noticed something strange. The log began to shift and change, its surface smoothing into planks of wood. Vines twisted around it, forming railings, and flowers bloomed along its edges. Before her eyes, the log transformed into a beautiful, enchanted bridge. Lila hesitated. The bridge looked fragile, but the map insisted this was the way. Taking a deep breath, she stepped onto the bridge. It creaked softly but held her weight. Halfway across, she noticed golden fish swimming in the river below, their scales glittering like tiny suns. She smiled, feeling a little less afraid. When she reached the other side, the bridge vanished behind her, leaving only the fallen log once more. Lila knew there was no turning back now. As the sun began to set, Lila found herself in a clearing unlike any she had ever seen. The trees here were taller, their branches reaching toward the sky like arms. In the center of the clearing stood an enormous oak tree, its leaves a brilliant gold that seemed to glow in the fading light. The map had led her here, but Lila wasn't sure what to do next. She sat down on a rock and pulled out her sandwich. As she ate, she noticed tiny lights flickering around her. Fireflies. They danced around the golden tree, their glow blending with the leaves to create a magical scene. Suddenly, the tree began to hum, a low, soothing sound that made Lila feel calm and curious at the same time. She approached the tree and placed her hand on its trunk. The humming grew louder, and the golden leaves rustled as if they were speaking to her. "Welcome, Lila," the tree seemed to say. "You have come seeking the treasure of the Whispering Woods. But first, you must prove your courage and kindness." Lila felt a chill run down her spine. She knew she had to continue, but the path ahead looked ominous. The map showed a trail leading into a part of the forest where the trees grew close together, their branches forming a canopy so thick that no sunlight could penetrate. Lila took a deep breath and stepped into the shadows. The air was cool, and the ground was soft beneath her feet. As she walked, she noticed glowing blue mushrooms lining the path, their light guiding her way. Suddenly, she heard a soft whimper. Following the sound, she found a small rabbit caught in a tangle of vines. Its eyes were wide with fear, and it struggled to free itself. Remembering the tree's words about kindness, Lila knelt down and carefully untangled the vines. The rabbit hopped away, pausing to look back at her with gratitude before disappearing into the shadows. As Lila stood up, the forest seemed to brighten. The twisted trees straightened, and the path ahead became clear. She knew she had passed the first test. The path led Lila to a hidden grove, where the air was warm and filled with the scent of flowers. In the center of the grove was a small pool of water, its surface so still it looked like a mirror. Above the pool, the branches of the golden oak tree stretched out, their leaves shimmering like stars. Lila approached the pool and looked into the water. Instead of her reflection, she saw a glowing golden key resting at the bottom. She reached in and pulled it out, feeling a surge of warmth in her hand. As she held the key, the tree's voice returned. "You have proven your courage and kindness, Lila. The treasure of the Whispering Woods is yours." The ground beneath her feet began to glow, and the pool's water rose into the air, forming a shimmering doorway. Lila stepped through and found herself back at the edge of the forest, the golden key still in her hand. She didn't know what the key unlocked, but she knew one thing: the Whispering Woods had given her an adventure she would never forget.